What up Racer, ItsJerone here, and welcome back to the 7th round already of the FRL season. Time really is flying when you're having fun. If you did not see the previous video, then I would highly recommend to go check that one out, because we were fighting for a podium around Italy and it was quite an exciting race altogether. Something I also want to say, if you have any feedback about my videos, about my driving, about other things that can be improved, please let me know. I always appreciate that. Anyways, we're looking at the standings currently. I am in P6 in this championship, and yeah, realistically I'm just looking to get some good results. I don't really mind where I end up finishing in this championship, and today is quite a good opportunity for that, I would say, because I really like driving Spa, and I must say I had a bit of problems adapting to the new handling model around here, but I think I got it under control now. I know which curbs I should avoid at all time, and yeah, just a bit of adjustment in my driving style really. As you can see, we're in qualifying, we're currently P5 and we're about to start our final lap. So braking just at the 100 meter wars, and you could keep it in second gear if you want to, but I preferred first gear there for a bit of extra rotation, and there was quite a clean exit. So we're already a tenth up, going through Eau Rouge and Radion. Try to keep it as straight as possible to scrub off as less speed as possible. Also notice that I am shifting with my brake bias a little bit throughout the lap. Then going into the Les Combes chicane, I missed the apex of the right-hander marginally, which means I didn't quite gain or carry the speed through. Then on that exit there, I should have maximized the exit a bit more, and I shouldn't maximize this exit because that one is actually slower. So we lost a little bit of time there, although we're still nearly 2 tenths up on the delta. Also on the previous lap it wasn't quite perfect. Then Pouon, I think I carried a lot of speed through there, used the track basically to perfection, but then this curve it's always so tricky to take. And unfortunately I mess up my whole lap with that, because as you can see I just have a bit of a weird line into this right-hander as well, and I invalidate on the exit. If you want to be faster around Spa, you need to hook that inside curve with that right-hander, but if you don't hook it completely, it sort of happens what you just saw on your screen. You sort of get pulled out by the curb and you lose all sorts of momentum, and you have to go off throttle in order to not spin. So of course we're not going to improve because lap was invalid, but on a really good lap I'm pretty sure I could have pulled out 42.0 or perhaps even into 41s, but realistically I think P3 was the maximum I could get in qualifying, and I'm not too dissatisfied with P5, to be honest. It wasn't perfect, but it was quite an okay lap in the end, and that means that I will be able to start quite high up the grid for this race, which is always good. So when it comes to strategy front, I wasn't exactly sure what the ideal pit lap was. I only did like half a race distance in practice, and it's quite an easy soft to mediums, so we shouldn't have to worry about our tire compounds for this race. For once I will also show you setup I'm running. I usually don't do this, but because I didn't put a lot of time into creating this setup, I don't think it's an amazing setup either way. But during this race I think I had quite good straight line speed, and if you remember from AOR from last year, I had quite a poor start, which we will cut to in a moment, as in the meanwhile we see that Kyle and Sunset Beach Bar hit each other on the formation lap. Also checking tire strategies of others, there are quite a few on mediums, so we'll see what they can do. And this was the start I was talking about in AOR. I started from P4 in this race, and as you can see I kind of got tagged from behind and lost a lot of positions from the start. So at all times we ultimately want to avoid this in this race. So let's see what I can do. 1 red light, 2 red light, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and revving up to get a good start. And it's quite an okay one, a bit average, but we just keep our position, take a short line into turn 1, and we're essentially clear. Going up Eau Rouge and Radion, of course keeping the overtake on to make sure I keep my teammates for this race, FRL Robin, behind. And that was already nearly a first warning. This track is really tough when it comes to making sure you don't get any warnings, as up front there's quite a lot of battling. Sylvan got pole position with Kazizzle in second, and then in front of me there's FRL Ginger and Aidan. And for this first lap, I think it was quite okay. Hold my position for now. And let's see what happens. But first of all, there's already been a virtual safety car. I'm not exactly sure why this has been called out and what for. But of course, going to the end of lap 1, it's also going to be cleared. And I messed this restart up a little bit because I was braking a little bit before the safety car ended, and when you're on a straight you of course ideally do not want to brake. So we are currently nearly 9 tenths behind Aidan, which is not optimal, but everyone runs a bit deep, so ultimately I already gain a few tenths back, which means I'm easily back into the DRS range. And of course this track is quite tough when it comes to keeping it on track and not spinning, because there are quite a lot of curves around this place which like to throw you out, and ideally we do not want to spin anymore, because that's the goal I set after my 1 week break of league racing. I think that was 3 weeks ago by now. And so far I think I only spun once, so I'm quite happy with that. Let's keep it that way. Currently though, we're just staying on board a little bit for the opening laps, just to see what others are doing, what my straight line speed was relative to everyone. And I don't think there were any major setup differences between most people. So we're just going to keep driving for now, make sure we stay within DRS distance of Aidan, as I already got my first warning of the race, running a little bit wide at Pouon, as we have a yellow flag ahead, as I nearly touched that inside curb as well. And as you can see, Aidan goes round and the yellow flag was actually behind, as I make a little mistake on the brakes. I think my brake bias was a little bit far forward, plus I put in a lot of brake pressure, which meant I lost a little bit of control under the braking. But this also means that there's now quite a gap to FRL Ginger, so I was using quite a lot of ERS on this straight to make sure I could catch back up, as we run a little bit deep into the bus stop chicane. And I think fortunately for me, a VSC has been called out, as we're currently nearly on 20% tire wear already after lap 3. So hopefully this time I can time my safety car restart a little bit better, and in the end I can confirm I did exactly that, and that meant I could close the gap a little bit on this third lap, and we're basically in DRS range of FRL Ginger now, whilst dropping FRL Robin out of DRS distance. Still used quite a bit of ERS on this straight to make sure I could get it, and indeed both FRL Ginger and I have DRS, so that means we can collectively pull away as top 4 from the rest of the field, which is always ideal, because you want to have a bit of field spread in order to make sure that the alternative strategy runners don't catch up as quickly as they can. So we're just gonna make sure we keep doing our thing, and hopefully we can close up a bit in the following laps. And after that, realistically, we'll just see what happens strategy wise, as I already have my second warning now for once again running a bit wide at Pouon. I think during the race that was my ideal line through this sector, as in the meanwhile Sylvan spun and FRL Ginger made a mistake. So basically in space of 2 corners I gained 2 positions, and we're currently up to second place in the race. As now we have FRL Ginger behind, but all of a sudden he's not really behind anymore. You can see on the delta he's dropping back quite a bit, and I'm not sure what happened now, but He didn't hit that wall completely, I think, but I'm pretty sure he made some sort of other mistake and he has fallen back behind his teammate Mikulitsi. As in the meanwhile, lap 6, you can see an Alfa Romeo stranded on the right hand side, and we have a first safety car in this race. So once again, safety car making an appearance in the video, and of course this is an easy decision. Of course we're going to mediums. Mediums can easily make it to the ends from this point, so let's just do that. So basically I didn't overtake anyone on track, but I gained 3 positions in this first stint, which is optimal, and just like last week we're running for a podium once again. In the meanwhile, my teammate FRL Robin already on a 3 seconds, of course easy does it into the pit lane. We do not want to speed, and I think basically the whole field is coming in, or at least everyone who started on a set of soft compound tires. So let's see, shouldn't get held by anyone in the pit lane, and exactly that is the case. So let's see where I rejoin if any medium runners decide to continue. And yes, there's one medium runner continuing, but we cannot beat him to the pit lane exit, and it is FRL Ron who continued. I think he's basically the only driver who hasn't made a pit stop this race yet. Of course, Kazizel is leading us away for this safety car restart, and realistically you can't do anything extremely clever here on a safety car restart. There's just the bus stop chicane, and after that you just floor it. And one thing I noticed basically throughout this FRL and AOR season, I'm not very good on safety car restarts. I don't quite have the confidence on relatively cold tires, it seems. And once again we have a virtual safety car this time, because I have no idea why. I have no idea why. So of course safety car is going to end quite quickly, and it was a very short time between VSC ending and going green, so I nearly got a drive-through penalty for that, which would have been extremely unfortunate, but fortunately I managed to avoid that. In the meanwhile though, Kazizel up front, of course pulling away, since he had immediately got clear air after the safety car restart, whereas I am still behind Ron, who is on quite old mediums at this point. So at this point I really have to make sure I get past, as that was an ideal exit because I had quite a big of an oversteer moment, and at this point DRS got activated, and of course I want to get past, and I think Ron is smart enough not to defend this because he knows he is on a lot older medium compound tire than me. So we easily do it on the Camel Straight, and into Lecom we go as second place runner in this race again, with about 3 seconds to Kazizel. Then a couple of laps later I definitely noticed that Kazizel was a lot faster than me, and he pulled away quite a lot. So realistically we're not going to catch him anymore, even with the 3-second time penalty. In the meanwhile though, of course, Mikulitsi also got past FRL Ron, and I think I was leading the pack for a few laps. But ideally you don't want to always be leading in a train, because as the first driver in a train you will always use more ERS than the car behind. And oh no, our race leader has crashed out of this race. Was not completely out, but he definitely made a gigantic error, and I'm not sure whether it was the curb on the inside that made him spin, or on the exit that he was too eager on the throttle. But currently we're in second place in this race, as we have a little meme.
Jeroen, pas op in de vuur, du. Jeroen, Jeroen! Jeroen, doe normaal, gek! What the fuck?
I'm sorry if you're not Dutch, then you probably won't understand this meme, but basically whenever someone hears the name Jeroen, that meme comes up, and that's exactly what happened when FRL Jeroen retired. Perhaps you should have been a little bit more careful. That's from an old GRC from like 4 years ago. But anyways, we're going to have a safety car And please consider for yourself at this moment in time, would you box or not? At this stage I would fall back to, I'm pretty sure, P6 in this race if I would box. So please consider it yourself. And in the end here, I decided to stay out. My mediums are on 30% tire wear, and realistically there will only be 3 laps of racing left in this race. And in the end, this wasn't the best strategic call I ever made, because everyone else behind me, where I was initially thinking, oh, I'm gonna fall back to P6 or P7 in this race if I pit now, literally everyone behind me pitted. So essentially I'm a bit of a sitting duck now on relatively old medium compound tires, whereas literally everyone has fresh soft compound tires behind me. So once again, it's like a 3-lap sprint race, and we're gonna use the ERS effectively and try to defend the position, as we currently already have Mikulizzi very close behind. And realistically, I probably should have defended here, but in my mind I was thinking, Mikulizzi is gonna get past anyways. Let's just make sure I don't lose 2 positions on one straight. And at least so far that's what I do, but of course there will be immense pressure from Aidan, from FRL Ron, who started from last place in this race, from Phoenix in the upcoming laps, as I will have to make this AlphaTauri car as wide as possible for the last 2.5 laps. And let's see whether my podium chances evaporate, or if I can somehow pull something out of the bag and make sure I can keep it in front of all the cars behind, as there's once again a yellow flag, probably someone spinning on that curb for the right-hander. But we don't care about that. We do care about getting a good exit, going through Blanchimon, going up to Blanchimon, and Aidan is actually quite close. Of course he has far superior grip than me. Gonna use quite a lot of ERS, defend the inside, brake as late as possible, but here you can just tell the soft compound just has such superior grip, as we get cut off a little bit by Aidan, which means FRL Ron now has a little bit of a run on us, and he decides to go down the inside at the hairpin of turn 1, which is quite an aggressive move. Then going on the traction, and
that was a heck of an impact. Let me know you're okay.
We're out of the race. This wasn't the same as the first clip I showed you at the start of the video for my AOR start. This actually was completely my fault. I had an oversteer moment, and I'm 99% sure I would have corrected it if there wasn't McLaren down my inside. So that's race over, and a very unfortunate ending to my race, really. Once again, apologies to that McLaren, which race I also ruined by getting that oversteer moment. Perhaps it was also a little bit dangerous by him. He put himself in a bit of a dangerous place by going side by side at the traction zone already, and it's sort of backfired for him, but of course it's my fault. Yeah, I'm not as disheartened as last time round, because that time I still had a chance of finishing, well, second in the race realistically, and this time, due to my wrong strategy after the safety car, I wouldn't have finished on the podium anyways, so I'm not too disheartened about that one. Of course, ideally you don't want to end your race with a crash, but things happen. I think this is also my first race I ever DNF'd in a league race. There were 12 races in AOR Season 21, then I reserved twice in RPR, and for this year's AOR round I did 5 races at this point, and in FRL I'm pretty sure I did 6, so altogether that makes, this is the first DNF in 26 races, and to be honest that's not a bad ratio to have, I guess. In the end we missed out on quite a bit of action, as Aidan went down the inside of Mikulizzi at Lecom and caused Mikulizzi to spin and lose a lot of positions. And FRL Ron has done the unthinkable, doing a last to first challenge in a league race, going from P19 to P1 with a brilliant move, coming out of Puon, carrying a lot of exit speed, taking the esports racing line up to Puon, and getting the move done on Aidan. So a massive GG's to Ron for winning this race. Incredible drive by him. And once again, it just kind of goes to show that qualifying is not extremely important on this year's game. You just have to be consistent in the race, make the right strategy calls, and you can still win the race. Anyways, going back to my own race, it's a little bit unfortunate, but I do feel something's brewing. I had 2 podium chances in the last 2 races, so third time's a charm hopefully, and we'll see what we can do next week. If you want to see that, then it would also be appreciated if you subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video, and I would like to see you for the next one. Bye bye.